Hi, welcome to the Dynamic Duel podcast, where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters and stat-based battle simulations. I'm Marvelous Joe.
And I'm his twin brother, Johnny DC.
And in this episode, we will be reviewing Iron Fist Season 2. Spoiler alert, it's a lot better than Season 1. And I'm really excited to talk about it. Don't listen to this episode, or at least the review in this episode, if you haven't seen the season yet, because it will be a spoiler review, just to let you know up top.
And it's a shorter season than past Marvel Netflix shows. It was only 10 episodes.
Right.
So I found it really easy to get through.
Yeah, it was really bingeable, so check it out. Although, I wouldn't recommend maybe watching Season 1 to get caught up. I don't think you need to necessarily.
No, they have a Season 1 recap at the beginning that you could do.
Should be sufficient. Before we get into the review, though, we'll be going over the news, the comic book movie news of the past week, in which there was no real Marvel news. It's all DC news again.
The big Marvel news is coming tomorrow.
Right, with the Captain Marvel trailer.
Yeah,
I can't wait to discuss that in next week's episode. But you can see the topics that we discuss in the episode description and skip ahead to whatever topics you find interesting. In this episode, we will be discussing the photos of Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur in the Joker movie. We will also be discussing Henry Cavill's departure from the Superman role. And we will be discussing the photos released from the Titan show that's on the DC Universe streaming app.
And I'll be giving my first impressions of the DC Universe app.
Yeah, I haven't got to see you use it at all, so I'm kind of interested in...
It's really cool.
If it's any good or not. Okay, so that's pretty cool. That's all I need to know, actually. So we don't need to talk about it.
Someone's jealous.
They really need to make a Marvel Universe app. Hopefully next year with the Disney thing. But, all right, just a heads up, we are currently on hiatus with Patreon right now because we're working on a secret project that we can't talk about yet, but we'll announce to everyone probably at the end of this month or next month, I don't know, whenever we get it done, basically.
Yeah.
But if you go to patreon.com/dynamicduel, you can get access to all of the back content that we have there if you sign up for just $2 a month. And that includes all of our movie pitches that we've done, our top 10 lists, our quick draw duel episodes, and our blooper episodes. So go ahead and again visit patreon.com/dynamicduel to get all that bonus content.
And if you go there, you'll see that one of our goals currently is to reach 25 patrons, at which time we will begin printing and mailing out the illustrations we do for our weekly Dynamic Duel No Prize.
Right. And speaking of no prizes,
it's No Prize time. So a No Prize is an award that Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans who found mistakes in their comics. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that I personally draw for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was, so after Black Widow and Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman and all of the other female-centric superhero films that are currently in development, what female Marvel or DC superhero film are you most interested in seeing get their own film franchise?
Yeah, we got quite a few answers here.
And there's no DC answers. No one that's all Marvel female characters. What is the deal?
No one likes DC female characters after Wonder Woman.
They have their own cartoon just based on females DC superheroes.
Well, I mean, Batgirl's going to be in the Birds of Prey movie, and I guess they're making a Supergirl movie now, so that couldn't be an answer or anything like that. So, a lot of their most popular ones.
There's Batgirl and Supergirl.
No, there's not.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, so honorable mention goes to Harrison Fox for his answer of A-Force, which includes a wide variety of Marvel female superheroes.
It's like the female Avengers, right?
Yeah, and that would be pretty cool, although I'd want to see a lot of their solo films before there was an A-Force film. We also give a shout out to Dan Baker, Ariana Quadra, and Jace Crump for their answer of Storm from the X-Men. I think Storm would be a great film, especially if they go into her backstory involving Black Panther, or even if, in a Black Panther sequel, they go into his backstory detailing his young romance with the mutant Storm. And
maybe like a flashback or something.
Right, yeah, and that's how they introduce her character into the MCU or something. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. But our number one answer was given by two different guys, Caleb Albers and Colby Henches, who gave the answer of She-Hulk. Colby said that she should lead the A-Force team, and Caleb said that the movie should be a legal drama in which Jennifer Walters' She-Hulk defends her cousin Bruce Banner.
That would be cool. That's one of the few genres that Marvel really hasn't tied themselves into yet with any
movie-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, in Netflix shows, I would describe Daredevil as a legal drama.
Yeah.
But I think it would be fantastic, especially if Mark Ruffalo's contract is done after Avengers 4, which I'm not quite sure if it is or not. But if he's, reduced to cameo roles, then this would be a really great cameo role, almost a co-starring role for Mark Ruffalo in this She-Hulk film to kind of like pass the torch on to the next Hulk.
Well, I know that the Hulk's like solo films are kind of tied up in Universal Studios.
Right.
I would imagine that She-Hulk's are as well.
That is likely the case, yes. But yeah, if they could ever get those rights back from Universal, then she will have to be relegated to cameo roles just like Mark Ruffalo is as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, here's hoping Marvel gets those rights back and she gets her own solo film, because I think that is a brilliant concept for a Marvel film, one that I would really like to see. So congrats again to Caleb Albers and Colby Henches. You guys win the No Prize for this week. And if you, listener, want to win a Dynamic Duel No Prize, go ahead and listen to later on this episode when we give a new question of the week.
On to the news. So Todd Phillips, the director of the Joker movie, he released on his Instagram a few days ago the first look at, well, who he's calling Arthur. And there's rumors that the Joker's real name is going to be Arthur Fleck.
Okay.
Because I remember there was like controversy that it's like, oh, it's A. Fleck? What does that mean?
Yeah.
But it's of course not the Joker. It's Arthur.
In the Joker form.
Yeah, right, in Joker
the Joker
form.
before he was the Joker.
I think if you think of this whole film as like Joker Begins, you're not, I don't think, going to see the Joker until the very end. So a lot of people are like, what is this? This isn't the Joker.
Right.
But I think they maybe don't understand what they're trying to do with this film.
Right. Yeah, the photo that Todd Phillips released was basically just a headshot of Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur.
Right.
And
he's super skinny.
Yeah.
Like he's been like doing the rounds in a few like the film fall festivals around the world.
Yeah.
And so like I'd seen photos from that and I knew that he was like super skinny. So I was like, oh, wow, this is like a really like lanky, sharp,
gaunt, skeletal.
Yeah, like approach to the Joker.
Yeah.
He really lost weight for this role. Mm-hmm. He looks almost like a drug user or something like that.
Kind of.
Which isn't like terrible. I'm actually really liking this look, especially seeing it in action in the leaked set photos, and especially the leaked video. I'm not sure if you saw that.
I did not see a leaked video, no. I only actually saw the officially released photo by Todd Phillips. And to me, like the look on Joaquin Phoenix's face, it looked like he was just a guy. There was nothing Joker-ish about it, except he had a slight smile on his face. To me, this could have been Joaquin Phoenix on a Tuesday, and it would have been the same thing as his character, because he looks just a little bit disheveled. His hair is a little bit messed up.
To me, it's really channeling Heath Ledger.
Yeah, in sort of a grungy way, a little bit.
Yeah. Like in the hairstyle, like longer hair. Typically, the Joker has like slicked back, short hair.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger's was like curly and greasy. This is a little bit more like that. Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's going to do a fantastic job in the role.
Yeah, he's a great actor. So.
The leaked set video that was released online involved him like having a conversation with a clown character.
Oh, really?
Like a fat clown guy. They're just talking, and just like the mannerisms of Joaquin Phoenix. He's really, really in character. It's almost like childlike, but like menacing in a way. It's interesting.
Is the clown evil, or is it like a happy clown?
I don't know. He grabbed the clown's nose off of his face, the red one, and then just like threw it, and the clown had to go running, chasing after it, and he was just like laughing maniacally, and then like walked away. It was pretty cool. Of course, this scene that they got the video and photos from was taking place in front of this huge wall that has Amusement Mile painted on the side of it, which was a great callback to an actual like carnival in the Batman comics.
Oh,
like
really?
You could see it like even in the Arkham Asylum games and stuff like that. It's so cool. I'm so excited for this film now.
It has become quite the compelling project as kind of like an Elseworld sort of movie.
Yeah, for sure. This probably won't take place in any kind of continuity, but it's still kind of, I don't know, I kind of turned a new leaf kind of just looking at all these photos and stuff like that, because before I hated it. I don't want a Joker origin story. I'm loyal to Jared Leto.
Ugh.
That may no longer be the case.
Maybe they'll have like a Crisis on Infinite Earths or something where the two Jokers meet and then Joaquin Phoenix just beats the shit out of Jared Leto.
Jeez. Who knows? In the comics, there's 3 Jokers, apparently. So, yeah, I hope they don't do the 3 Jokers in the movie universe. That just sounds horrible. But we got a replacement for Alec Baldwin as Thomas Wayne.
Oh.
It's now going to be played by Brett Cullen.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's not like really a big name actor, but he's been in quite a few roles. He was in The Dark Knight Rises. He was the congressman who Selena Kyle kidnapped.
Okay.
I'm not sure what else he's been in.
Oh, okay. I recognize him. He played Johnny Blaze's father in the first Ghost Rider film.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Yeah, I think you're right. That's right. So he's Thomas Wayne now. Based on what they were describing him as, like this smarmy kind of business guy, I think he'll do just fine in the role.
He could pull that off for sure.
Yeah. The cast is still good. Like, I'm still looking forward to everyone who's going to be in this film, especially, like Robert De Niro and Joaquin Phoenix. So,
yeah.
This sort of brings us to our question of the week. What actor have you always wanted to see in a villain role? And what Marvel or DC villain would you cast them as?
Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media. Yeah, one of my answers, if you had asked me this question like a few years ago, I would have said Joaquin Phoenix. I thought he would have made a great villain, and here he is now. So, yeah, interested in seeing what your answers will be.
Yeah, moving on to other news. Apparently, it's all kind of weird, Henry Cavill is no longer Superman.
Right. Well, we knew that he was currently in negotiations with Warner Brothers regarding his contract getting a higher pay level for these Superman movies that he's doing. And they were kind of like balking at that idea because the movies themselves have not been entirely successful. So there was kind of like a showdown there. And it looks like at some point last week, Warner Brothers was just like, fuck it, you're not Superman anymore.
Right. There's been rumors that he's been wanting to be paid as like an A-lister and receive A-list treatment. And Warner Brothers didn't really want to do that.
Yeah, well, because he's not an A-lister.
No.
He's a B-lister.
No. I think he's just trying to take advantage of Warner Brothers trying not to fail at their DC universe. DC didn't take the bait, I guess, as it were.
Yeah, there are definitely other actors that could play Superman.
Yeah, this whole thing to me is
Maybe not as
really
well,
unfortunate. Like, I think if you were to ask, like, Henry Cavill and his agent, Danny Garcia, they would say, he's still Superman. They're still in talks. It's not finalized yet. But based on the move that Warner Brothers did, I think there's no way you could say he's still Superman.
Right. I think one of their strategies was to introduce the concept of a Supergirl film and say that it's in development right now.
Right.
As a way to kind of like scare Cavill into thinking, oh, they don't need Superman if they have Supergirl in their universe.
Which I completely disagree with,
Right.
I want a Superman film before a Supergirl film for sure.
Or even introduce Supergirl in a Man of Steel sequel.
Yeah, totally.
That would be best case scenario right there.
Absolutely.
It would be a good way for the character of Superman to define himself in a series of movies in which he has kind of been ill-defined.
He's definitely not been the Superman from the comics, or even like the films, like the Christopher Reeves films that represent what people feel this character is. Mm-hmm. I think a big part of what made Warner Brothers make this decision was allegedly he refused to be in Shazam. He was supposed to have a cameo, and he was stalling for a renegotiation and was basically being stubborn and saying, well, I'm not going to be in Shazam if you're not going to pay me what I want.
This sucks. Yeah,
it does.
I thought maybe he had already filmed that cameo because, on his Instagram, he's been really cryptic and talking about speaking with The Rock and things like that. So I thought, that cameo was already done. So I was expecting to see Superman in the Shazam film, but I guess it hasn't been shot yet.
No. Henry Cavill is very disingenuous on his Instagram. Like I remember when Justice League was filming, he kept wearing a Green Lantern shirt and he was fueling speculation as to Green Lantern being in the film. And
I remember that. That's right.
And you could tell he just loved tricking the fans. And now his response to this whole thing.
Yeah, he was wearing a shirt or something, right? He said Krypton lifting team, I think. And he was listening to music of just dogs barking.
Yeah. And then he slowly lifts his head along with an action figure of Superman.
Just very cryptic. What does it mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it could have been interpreted as, saying goodbye to the character or saying, I'm still this guy.
That's what he was going for, was exactly just being cryptic. The Hollywood Reporter broke the news. And then right after that, all of the other trades jumped on the story. And Danny Garcia on Twitter said basically, the cape is still in Henry's closet.
Which means nothing.
Which means nothing. And expect some kind of announcement from Warner Brothers later on in the day. And that announcement never came.
Well, they did release an announcement, but it basically just said, we enjoy working with Henry Cavill. They neither confirmed nor denied the reports that he was no longer Superman.
They essentially said that it was still undecided.
Yeah.
And that came from Variety. So, and they're pretty close with Warner Brothers. This whole thing, as much as I really like Henry Cavill in this role, I don't like his business strategy. It does make me realize that, other people can play Superman.
At this point, I don't think he has any other option but to concede whatever they're willing to offer him. As long as, WB isn't lowballing him, I would tell Cavill to take whatever fair offer they can provide.
Yeah, honestly.
And do that damn cameo.
You absolutely do the cameo in Shazam.
Yeah.
There's so many articles I see online right now. It's like 10 other actors who could play Superman. And, I'm like, ugh. But I'll click on it and I'll read it and I'm like, they're not wrong.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I think ultimately would be happy to just keep Cavill in the role because he does personify the character in his look and in, most of his characterization, I think, especially in the Justice League film. So.
Yeah, I think where fans don't like his characterization, I think that was on the page. I don't think that was his acting.
Right.
I think he could do a fantastic job. And I would love to see him stay in the role because if Ben Affleck's out and Henry Cavill is out also, that just leaves, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. And that's not...
Well, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller.
I'm talking about the Trinity.
Oh, okay.
I don't really care if those guys are recast, honestly.
Really?
Kinda. We'll see how Aquaman goes. Yeah, but no, Henry Cavill just do whatever they want. Gosh.
For the fans.
Yeah, for the fans. But moving on to the DC Universe news, we got new photos of Hawk and Dove and of Jason Todd. And it makes you almost forget the horrible costuming of the rest of the Titans cast, but not really, because they released new photos of those characters as well.
Yeah. How did they get the costumes of Robin, Hawk, and Dove so right, and yet go so horribly wrong with Raven, Beast Boy, and Starfire?
Because those really aren't like superhero costumes. They're just like in civilian attire. They need to get them in costumes. They need to release photos of those as soon as possible.
Yes.
But I think they're kind of waiting until like the end of the season, sort of like Daredevil style, for the Netflix show.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that they're holding out and trying to, tease potential buyers of the DC Universe, we're not going to show you the goods unless you pay for it, basically.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a strategy that's backfiring because I think it's almost turning people off to buying the DC Universe app because the characters look so bad in that Titans show, the main ones.
Yeah, they should have definitely launched with the Titans show. I guess we learned how the shows will be released.
Oh, really?
So over the course of 52 weeks, an entire year, they're going to release a new episode of one of their original shows each week.
Oh, really?
And then once Titans ends, there's going to be like no hiatus. Once Titans ends, then the Young Justice cartoon picks up. And then once that ends, then it's going to be Harley Quinn. Then once that ends, then it's going to be, Swamp Thing or Doom Patrol. So we're only going to have one running show at a time.
Really?
Yeah.
How many episodes do you think is each season going to be?
I don't think it's going to be that many. If you take 52, it's probably only going to be like 10 episodes each season.
Like 5 shows, 10 episodes each, 50 episodes-ish.
So, I mean, that's interesting. I'm going to be kind of sad that I can't binge like multiple shows at once, but it's fine. I guess something new to do every week.
Yeah, at least you don't have to deal with an off season.
Right, exactly.
That is
that's
pretty cool.
So the DC Universe was supposed to release on Batman Day, September 15th, but it actually came out 2 days before that. So everyone kind of got to like play around with it before they released like all the big like Batman titles and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The first day they did, like their DC Daily, and they revealed a clip between Jason Todd and Dick Grayson, which was pretty short, but pretty cool.
Oh, I saw that clip.
It was essentially them meeting for the first time, and Jason Todd
I had
saying,
no idea Jason Todd was going to be in the Titans show.
I knew he was going to be in the show, but I thought he was going to be there as the Red Hood. I didn't know he was going to be Robin.
Yeah. Do you see this kid who's playing Jason Todd becoming the Red Hood eventually?
He's a little young,
Yeah.
He looks young, at least. Well, it just makes me wonder, like, if he's in this show, is the Joker going to be in this show? And I guess you could also ask if Batman is going to be in the show, because who else is going to kill Jason Todd besides the Joker?
Right.
And I'm sure they're going to go down that storyline.
Are we about to have another live-action Joker on our hands?
We may be. Yeah. Probably.
In addition to Gotham and the DCEU and, the Joker movie and now this. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a multiverse. But as for the rest of the DC Universe stuff, I have it on iOS. I have it on my Apple TV. They're very different experiences.
Really?
Yeah. The Apple TV app feels like beta.
Really?
It's not that great. It's hard to find a lot of stuff. But on my iPhone and my iPad, it's fantastic. It's a really great experience. It's easy to find stuff. There's a lot of stuff. Not as much as I was hoping, but really? I'm still reading comics that I haven't read before, and I'm still watching shows that I haven't seen before.
What is the comic book reading experience like on the Apple TV?
It's a lot like Comixology. The problem with the TV experience I found is that a lot of stuff is clipped incorrectly. It's just a bad crop where you can't read like all the text or see all of the picture.
Okay.
But I don't run into that problem elsewhere.
On your phone or anything like that?
Yeah.
What shows were you expecting to be there that weren't?
That's a good question, because I first downloaded it on the Apple TV, and I couldn't find any of the Batman stuff. Like I said, it's really hard to find stuff on there.
Like a bad search system?
No, not a bad. It has a search system, but like when you scroll down, and you're like looking for titles. There's no like link to see all the movie titles that they have. There's no link to see all the comics that they have.
Oh,
it's just kind of like, here's what we put in front of you, and if you want to find anything else, you have to search for it.
Okay.
So sometimes you don't even know what you want to search for. Sometimes it's nice just to stumble upon something, you know?
Okay.
I hope that they make the experiences a little bit more consistent across the different platforms. But so far, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it a lot. My daughters love like the DC Nation shorts that they have on there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, there's just a ton of cool content. If you're a DC fan, it's like the greatest thing ever. It's worth it.
Oh, man, I want Marvel animated shorts.
You're never going to... Even if Disney does a platform and has a whole bunch of Marvel stuff on there, they're not going to put the comics on that platform.
Why? How dare you? Oh, because it's a Disney app and not a Marvel app.
Because it's a Disney app.
Yeah, you're right.
They're going to put all the Pixar and Star Wars stuff on there.
Yeah.
No reason to put comics.
Well, I mean, I do have the Marvel Unlimited app, which you could read comments.
So now you have to do 2 subscriptions.
Well, fuck you. I'll do what I have to.
That's what Disney's saying to you.
Oh. Well, whatever. Damn it.
My whole weekend was essentially spent on this app, and I'm still looking forward to finding more stuff to just absorb. I'm reading comics I've never read before and seeing shows I've never seen before. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think that does it for all of the news. Let's go ahead and dive into our review of Iron Fist Season 2.
Let's get into it.
All right, just a reminder that this will be a spoiler review of Iron Fist Season 2, so you've been warned now. You probably don't want to venture any further in this review if you haven't seen the season yet. And I do think that it is worth seeing, even if you hated Season 1.
Yeah, I hated Season 1. I wasn't looking forward to this.
I didn't like it, but it had potential. And yeah, I wasn't really looking forward to this season either.
But I mentioned earlier, it's really watchable, because at no point did I feel like it had the typical unnecessary subplot kind of going on.
Not really.
It all felt kind of tight. It was tight.
Yeah, there were no B plots that felt extraneous and unnecessary, really. So the first season, we gave 3 stars, but we've since mentioned in our other Marvel Netflix reviews that it really should have gotten 2.5 stars. While I think in Season 1, Harold Meacham was an interesting villain and most of the cast did their best, the showrunner at the time, Scott Buck, didn't really get the character, and the martial arts action was just weak as shit, honestly.
It was really bad.
But again, Season 1 was not without its potential. I think that was one of the things that it had going for it. It was like there was a better show there lying just beneath the surface, and with some small tweaks, Iron Fist could place itself in the ranks of Daredevil and Jessica Jones. Luke Cage Season 2 was, I think, able to pull it off and join the ranks because that was just a great season. Iron Fist still has maybe a step or 2 to go, but again, overall, it was an improvement over Season 1. It's a few steps in the right direction. I went into Season 2 not knowing what to expect, but not really needing anything more than great martial arts action. Not only did we get that, but we got a better, more engaging story overall involving a war of Chinese triads and Joy and Davos's revenge.
You've always kind of described Luke Cage as like a gangster kind of series.
Yeah.
Like a gangster film.
It's in that genre, definitely.
I would say this one is as well.
A gangster genre?
Yeah.
Film?
Have you ever seen the films Election and Triad Election?
No.
If you haven't seen those are really great Chinese films. They're like the Godfather.
Oh, they're foreign films? Okay.
Yeah, of China. And they deal with the triads and like the politics there. And like, you know, the baton that Mrs. Yang had in this season
during
of
the
Iron
parlay.
Fist. Yeah. You learn all about that in those triad films. This reminded me a ton of that.
Interesting.
It was like Asian gangster.
Okay, yeah. There definitely is a difference between like East Asian gangster films and American gangster films.
Yes.
And Luke Cage definitely falls into that mafia type of gangster film. And,
right.
Yeah, and Iron Fist, I think, could accurately be described as a foreign gangster type genre series.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's what I found really compelling about it. I thought the story this season was leaps and bounds better than last season.
It's so weird how the triads were so much more compelling than the hand. And I don't know why.
Right?
Mainly because it felt a little bit more grounded and a little bit more real.
Yeah, maybe.
I think the greatest thing about season 1 was its character arcs and character relationships, and that didn't change here. Iron Fist does have some of the best supporting characters, I think, in Marvel Netflix, and they're so good at times that I feel they often overshadow the main character.
I agree, for sure.
Like, there were many times during the season where I was thinking, like, man, where's Danny Rand? Why has it been so long since we've seen him use his fist?
I feel like there were almost like entire episodes without him there. And you're right. He didn't use his fist as much as I would have wanted him to, which is like one of my gripes that I had with season 1 as well.
Yeah. Because the fist is just so cool to see him use. And since episode 4 of this season, when he lost the fist, we didn't see him use it again until the very last shot of the season.
Which honestly really pissed me off.
I think that one of the big criticisms of the first season, for many people, ourselves included, was that Finn Jones' portrayal of Danny Rand was at times, a little pompous and irritating. And whether that was the writing or Jones himself, I couldn't tell you. But I do think that because of those criticisms, Marvel's television executives felt that he was the show's weak point and therefore had to really divide up his screen time among the rest of the supporting cast, which is probably why we didn't see a lot of him here. That's my theory.
I did like him a lot more in this season.
Yeah.
Was a little bit more mature, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, and that's what we were hoping to see.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think choosing to take the focus off of Danny Rand was a mistake, because I don't think that Jones is necessarily the show's weak point. I think it's more the characterization, but yeah, that's just the writing. I actually want to see more of the Danny Rand character. I want to delve into who he is. I want to see him grow even more and learn about his powers. And I want to see him become the hero from the comics. After 2 seasons and The Defenders, how is he still not there yet?
I just want him to be that already.
Yeah. And I blame season 1. In many ways, this season's purpose was to course correct after the mistakes of the first season so they could finally get Danny to a place where he can find himself, discover who he is. Because as we learn here, even he doesn't know at this point. I mean, he stated that his goal of getting the fist defined so much of his life that once he actually got it, he didn't really know what to do next.
Right.
And when pressed by Colleen about his motivations for fighting, he didn't have a great answer.
It was just to use the fist.
Right. It was to use the fist again. It came to define him, and at that point he was like, well, maybe I shouldn't have it. It was a particularly fascinating revelation on behalf of the show, and possibly maybe even an admission on behalf of the showrunners. They're like saying, look, this guy doesn't know who he is, and neither do we. Yeah. So maybe by the end of the season, we'll put him in a spot where he can actually find out who he is.
I do think, as much as I really was pissed off with the last episode, the final moments still have me looking forward to another season.
Yeah, to this season's credit, I really want to watch more Iron Fist, and I'm like waiting for that season 3 announcement.
I know, it's not going to be for like another 2 years, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Overall, I think the show still has yet to reach its full potential, but it has set itself up to reach it in season 3 and has considerably, thankfully improved since season 1. And definitely a big, huge shout out to M. Raven Metzner for being a better showrunner than Scott Buck.
Yeah, fuck you, Scott Buck.
Yeah, you ruined Iron Fist and Inhumans.
Yeah, what are you doing? You'll never work in this town again.
But let's get down into the character breakdown. So Danny Rand / Iron Fist, I think Finn Jones is a decent enough actor and he gets more likable with each show that I've seen him in. In this season, again, he didn't feel entitled or pompous or even that naive still. He just mostly felt kind of bland and empty and absent from the show. I think it's hard to watch a series in which the main hero isn't the hero for over 50% of the runtime.
Colleen Wing, to me, was more of the hero in this season than Danny Rand was.
I think they definitely developed her into a greater protagonist than Danny Rand, for sure. But yeah, we'll get into Colleen. But the more I see of Finn Jones as Danny Rand, the more invested I am in his character portrayal. He may not always be the Danny Rand from the comics that I know, but if he ever gets to that point and can pull it off acting-wise, then I think all of this sidetracking character-wise will have been worth it. We just have to get there. And I hope that in season 3, I want to see him travel the world, like in the Kung Fu show with David Carradine.
Yeah.
Travel the world with Ward, I want Orson Randall to fully instruct him in the use of the Iron Fist, if he isn't already. We don't know by that last shot.
Yeah, he may have already.
Yeah. I want to see him find and save Kun Lun from wherever it disappeared to.
Right.
And I really fucking want him to wear an updated version of the Iron Fist costume.
Please.
That's everything that we need to see in season 3.
Honestly, I thought that that's what this season was going to be.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be rescuing Kunlun from wherever the hell it is.
Yeah, and wearing the outfit.
Right.
But yeah, it looks like we have to wait another season for that to happen. Let's move on to Colleen Wing. Yeah, she's the better protagonist. She's more pure, more interesting, and she's incredibly strong in this season. It felt more like her show than Dany's, especially now that she has the Iron Fist. Right. And it was revealed that she is the ancestor of the first female Iron Fist. And Dany in the show even conceded that it's possible that he was just a part of her destiny. And in the comics, she and Misty have always really played second fiddle to Luke and Dany, so it's kind of weird to see that role reversal here.
Does Colleen have the Iron Fist in the comics? Has
no.
She ever?
No.
No?
That was something that they did for the
show. So
she
can't create like a glowing white lightsaber?
No, that was pretty cool how she did that, though. It was interesting how she learned how to use the Iron Fist better than Dany did in just the course of a few short months.
Right.
It's kind of weird.
That's what pissed me off.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later, I'm sure.
But they kind of made up for it by showing that Dany also knows how to focus the Iron Fist into weapons as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that they've succeeded in creating exceptionally kick-ass and fascinating characters with Misty and Colleen. And their dynamic in this show is great. It's just like how it is in the comics. But I'm a little torn because, honestly, I'm mainly here for Dany Rand for the show.
It's true.
That's who I want to see. Like, I would be ecstatic if they decided to make a Daughters of the Dragon show because they have, such great chemistry and such great actresses. But in an Iron Fist show, I want to see Dany Rand.
Yeah. I'm not sure of the actress's name who plays Colleen Wing.
Jessica Henwick.
Oh, that's right. She does do a fantastic job with the character.
She fucking nails it.
And she's great with her action, too.
Oh, man. She was the second best, I would say, at dealing with the choreography in this series.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would agree with that.
She was quick.
I mean, Finn Jones did a good job, too. But, I think he still was, like, the weakest one.
He didn't get a whole lot of martial arts action to do in this. He got less than both Colleen and Davos.
Yeah.
And speaking of Davos / Steel Serpent, even though he was never referred to as such during the course of this series.
Also pissed me off.
Not since Wesley Snipes has an actor been so physically cool and fierce as Sacha Dhawan. The man is literally half human, half action figure.
Was he like a martial artist that they were like, hey, do you want to act? And he was like, okay, because he is phenomenal.
I don't think so. No, he's an actor. He had to train with the martial artists and the choreographers to get these moves down.
I remember seeing like a few behind the scenes looks at like their choreography training.
Yeah.
Man, he just really nailed it. He was fast as hell.
He was so fast. Yeah, the fastest and the most believable, definitely, out of all the actors here.
He just had great form, I guess. You could take like any like still frame of him just in motion and it's just like a badass pose.
Right. Really fucking cool. And he's just also a phenomenal actor. Like his backstory was heartbreaking.
It was.
A lifetime of physical and emotional abuse. So his motivations were entirely understandable, not acceptable, but they made it so easy to see how he got to this place where he's just killing everybody,
And it was also relatable in the sense that, like, we just got done watching The Punisher take out bad guys in the same way, just killing them.
Yeah.
So I think I read an IGN article where they were like, it's kind of hard to see him as the villain when you were rooting for Frank Castle as well.
Yeah. One man's anti-hero is another man's vigilante.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought he was a great, wonderful villain in this. Even better than Harold Meacham, because even here you had that family versus family dynamic. Now it was just Dany's other family that was the villain, his Kunlun family.
Yeah. I still wish he had the black light fists.
Yeah, because traditionally in the comics, the Steel Serpent's abilities glow purple and not red like how they do here.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they just kind of made it glow almost like a black light, maybe even like shine ultraviolet light around the things that are around him, like if he's wearing white or something like that.
Yeah.
That would be so sweet. They should have done that instead of red.
Damn it. Why don't they just hire me to consult on these damn things?
Yeah, they should. They should hire both of us.
Like, not the DC guy, though. Like that guy.
So let's move on to Mary Walker / Typhoid Mary, even though she was never referred to as such during this show.
No.
Alice Eve was, I guess impressive is the word I want to look for here.
Very impressive.
I was really impressed, really, by her range as an actress. In all the roles I've seen her in, she's always been the, like the romantic interest, the babe, the cute girl, the Starfleet scientist who disrobes to her underwear for no reason.
Right.
Like, I never conceived of the idea of her being, like, a dangerous or scary, or tough as shit,
Yeah.
I think she knocked it out of the park.
She was probably my favorite character this season.
Really?
Yeah, like hands down. Anytime she was on the screen, I was like, yeah, fucking Typhoid Mary.
She played two completely different characters, believably. And I thought they were used well in the story, despite the fact that she was only marginally like her comic book counterpart.
Yeah.
Which was a little bit disappointing. I was kind of hoping that she would like bust out some pyrokinesis or telekinesis or something like that. We did get hints at another personality that may be lying dormant within her mind.
Bloody Mary, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Well, I mean, if you could rationalize the kind Mary as the regular Mary Walker, and then, you know, the fierce Marine character as
Walker.
Typhoid Mary.
Yeah.
They refer to her just as Walker here. But Walker, I don't even know if I would refer to her as Typhoid Mary. I wonder if the third personality is the pyrokinetic or the telekinetic Bloody Mary or something like that. I'm not sure quite what we got here.
Yeah. If she appears maybe in Daredevil, because I know she's in those comics.
Yeah.
I don't see her gaining those metahuman abilities in that show.
Well, it's because they haven't introduced mutants yet into the Netflix universe or even the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's true.
So, yeah, you're probably right, which is disappointing. In that regard, she may never be the character that we know from the comics.
Well, I was thinking maybe they could do it in Luke Cage if she ever appears in that, because you sort of have people with extra abilities.
Uh-huh. But, I mean, even right now, I don't know if there's a whole lot to differentiate her from the character of Moon Knight. Because Moon Knight traditionally doesn't have these, you know, pyrokinetic, telekinetic, fantastical powers. He's a mercenary with multiple personality disorder, just like she is.
Crap, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
You're going to retread.
Yeah, I hope if they ever do a Netflix Moon Knight series, it doesn't feel like a retread.
She would almost have to be in that show for it not to be so much a coincidence.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they were both in Sokovia at the same time or something like that. I thought Alice Eve's American accent was pretty spot on, too.
Is she not American?
Are you serious?
No?
She's pretty British.
Okay.
She's really adorable. I love her accent. But yeah, her American linguistics were pretty spot on, I thought.
That makes sense because it was a very technical performance.
Yeah.
You could see how she was altering her speech pattern, just everything.
Yeah, she was making her mouth smaller to speak as Walker.
Yeah.
As opposed to like when she was Mary and she would, you know, like smile a lot more and her voice was a lot lighter and brighter.
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
She is such a technical actress and you never would have known it.
I've never seen her in anything else, so...
Really?
Yeah.
You haven't seen her in anything else?
I don't think so.
Oh, I've seen like 3 of her movies. She was in a movie with Chris Evans, actually, that he directed. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a romantic movie. She was actually really good. You haven't even seen Star Trek Into Darkness?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, well, what the fuck? All right. Anyway, let's talk about Misty Knight. I think that Simone Missick was a welcome inclusion in this season because it kind of carried off what her and Colleen had in Luke Cage Season 2. Her role was nearly as large in this series as it was in the Luke Cage series, and I wasn't expecting her to have so much screen time. But again, I really like the relationships that she's established with the characters from the Iron Fist show. She's very effective at moving the plot forward, possibly more effective than any of the other characters.
There were definitely like long stretches of just her, you know, where it almost felt like it's the Misty Knight show.
Yeah. And she had like a lot of resources at her disposal, so I guess that was the only way they could justifiably move the story along is by using her contacts and stuff like that within the police department.
Yeah.
I thought her arm was pretty cool. I would have liked to have seen her use it a lot more than what she did, although she did smash some stuff. She did use it defensively against the sword and stuff. I don't know.
She's going to get an upgrade. They explicitly said.
Well, when she said that she's going to bling it up.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be gold like it is in the comics.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. But yeah, I thought she brought some gravitas, I think, that a lot of these actors in the Iron Fist show may not necessarily have as much as she has.
Yeah, she's super charming.
She brought presence, I guess is the word that I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Joy Meacham. I was so pissed at her in the beginning of the show because I still didn't understand her perspective, and she was being such a snob. Her goal, like her reason for her alliance with Davos was not to kill Danny, I guess, but to humble him, humiliate him, just bring him down in general, I guess. She was so furious with him and Ward for hiding things from her and conspiring behind her. But
it wasn't even a conspiracy. Like, they were protecting her.
Right. And really, she's just as guilty as they were. Like, and maybe she was trying to give Danny a taste of his own medicine, but, you know, she's still a huge hypocrite, and she was so holier than thou through this whole season that it frustrated me. Well, not maybe the whole season.
Yeah, she was worse at the beginning of the season than towards the end, for sure.
Yeah, she kind of redeemed herself.
In a way, yeah. Davos was right about how, like, she's a liar. She's manipulative, and I think it's hard to sympathize with a character like that. You know?
Definitely.
So I found myself really not liking her for a majority of this season.
There was a brief moment of like kind of rationalization to her actions when she was speaking with Ward, and how she mentioned how she went after Danny, how she singled him out because he's not really family and she didn't have the heart to go after Ward. But, you know, other than that, I wasn't feeling her motivation against Iron Fist.
You almost wonder, again, like, this is just them repairing season 1. They almost had to take her on this route because of the way they set up season 2 at the end of the first season.
Right, where she's speaking with Davos about how Danny ruined her life, even though that was so out of character at that moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of correcting of mistakes. So I'm glad she didn't actually die because of that, though. Because Jessica Stroup, I do like her as an actress.
She's a good actress.
Yeah, she can play both stern and kind pretty well. And again, she did kind of redeem herself, so I'm looking forward to seeing her in the 3rd season. Ward Meacham, Tom Pelphrey, the actor, seems like the kind of actor who would be cynical about the nature of this series, like a mystical kung fu superhero show. And maybe that's just the kind of character that he's playing, like a sneering jerk with good intentions. But I really feel like he gives it his all in every scene he's in. He's not a cynical actor.
He was my favorite character from season 1. So he was probably the thing I was most looking forward to in this next season, as strange as that may be. But no, he did another fantastic performance, another fantastic job. The character is not always the most likable, but damn it, he tries. You know? He just has the worst luck. And a lot of it has to do with his own decision making and stuff like that. But yeah, I was really glad to see where he ended up at the end of the season.
I think he grounds the show. I think he's a unique actor who delivers every line in such a real-life grounded way that it never feels scripted. And even though he doesn't have powers or anything, like, I feel like I could almost watch a spin-off show of Ward and I wouldn't find it boring or anything. I can't quite describe it, but the character appeals to me, and I think he brings heart to the series in a way that I think Danny Rand doesn't.
He's sort of the opposite of Joy in a way, in that, like, he's very honest. Yeah. Like, he'll tell you, like, how it is, and, like, if he's drunk in a bar and he knows he's an addict, he's just gonna be like, this, me right now, I just want to be drunk, you know?
Yeah. He's almost the antithesis to Davos because, like Davos, Ward was abused as a child, but he came out of it kind of a better person through Danny's influence, whereas Davos came out of it mainly evil.
And because of his relationship with Joy, I would say.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, there is definitely some, like, codependency kind of going on there, which kind of gets kind of weird at certain points. It's like, you're not, like, husband and wife, you're brother and sister.
Yeah.
Get the fuck over it. But I think they addressed that sort of in this season and took steps to sort of separating them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I really like where Ward is at the end of the season, where, you know, he's off with Iron Fist traveling the world, kind of. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, let's get into the episode highlights real quick. Opening action scene against the armored truck robbery. That was pretty cool. I think that was what revealed that this show is going to be much better choreography-wise, and it was more like an actual kung fu show and less like a wannabe kung fu show, like season 1 was, I think.
Yeah.
The fight at the end, too, with Colleen and those kids in the kitchen, that was really well done, and that also showed just how much of an action kung fu show that this one is going to be and how it's correcting the mistakes of season 1.
Yeah.
In episode 2, we got the Kunlun flashback, where they're fighting over the right to challenge Xiaolao the dragon.
And that fight wasn't as impressive as I thought it was going to be. I think they try to make it look a little bit more impressive with all the blood, but you don't see that much blood in, like, any of the other choreography they're doing.
Yeah, maybe they were just trying to make it seem like a more strenuous fight, because the fight, you could tell it went on for at least a day, because it went on until the next morning. They were fighting at night, and then all of a sudden they're fighting in the morning again. Mm-hmm. It was weird how Danny won the fight kind of through a little bit of cheating, you know. He used an environmental advantage that, you know, if they were fighting in one of our duel episodes, we would have said, nah, we don't count for environmental things like that. You got to win on your own accord.
Well, it's weird that, like, he saw the sun, so it was in his eye. Then he was like, I'm going to put the sun in Davos's eye. And Davos was like, oh, I'm fucking blind. But, like, you know, that didn't happen to Danny. I don't know. It was weird.
Why do you think Lei Kung called the match before Davos could yield?
Well, Danny asks that same question, and he, you know, posits the possibility that maybe Lei Kung knew that if Davos got it, he was going to be an asshole.
Yeah. At first, I thought maybe it was because he cared for Davos and didn't want to see him die.
Oh, true.
But it's really hard to tell what was going on there. But I
didn't even think of that. That's a solid reason.
Yeah. I like that they left it ambiguous.
Because Lei Kung was his father.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. It was cool to at least see them wearing the masks for
it's the closest,
at least some of the fight.
Yeah, it's the closest we've seen to Danny Rand wearing the comic accurate costume.
Yeah, not even the mask that he was wearing in the first episode in the armored truck fight. That was, I don't know what they were trying to do there, but it wasn't the Iron Fist costume.
It was a little more ninja than, you know, it was a little more Japanese than Chinese.
A little bit. Yeah, I would have rather seen him wear the tracksuit that he wore at the end of the Defender series, because that was pretty accurate to the Iron Fist costume that he's been wearing lately.
I don't understand. Like, they're setting stuff up, they don't deliver on it.
Pretty much. It sucks.
Yeah.
In episode 3, that was the episode where we had that really awkward dinner scene.
That was weird. That was really bad.
I mean, it was compelling in kind of like a dramatic sense, but it was so tense that I felt awkward about it.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of weird to have these mortal enemies that you recognize from the comics, Steel Serpent and Iron Fist, just having dinner together, you know?
Joy, I think, to me, was like the most irritating part of that whole scene.
Oh,
just
definitely.
how fake she was being.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, to be fair, like, they called it out in that show, or Colleen did.
Yeah.
So
Colleen was great in that scene. I think the relationship between Colleen and Danny has always been kind of something that you've had to take at face value, because I think in season 1, I wasn't entirely buying their chemistry. I think they had a lot of chemistry here in season 2, but it wasn't really until this scene where she's defending Danny to them. She's like, Davos, why are you mad at Danny? You know, Joy, why are you mad at Danny? It was the first moment in their relationship where I really bought it. You know, you can see that their relationship had grown and that they really do care about each other. And it felt like a real thing that a girlfriend would do for a guy that she cares about. Stand up for him, basically.
You know, she said it clearly, you know, like, he cares more about you two than anyone else in the world, and he just wants to have a good relationship with you guys.
Right, yeah. In that way, Danny even admitted it to her. She was like the bravest one at that table at that time.
Yeah.
In episode 4, we get to see what I thought was Orson Randall's corpse. I would have bet money that was Orson Randall's corpse, who was a previous Iron Fist. The body that Davos used to perform the Iron Fist ritual. And the ritual happened toward the end of this episode, and all I could think about was, who the hell are these chicks performing the ritual?
I was wondering the same thing.
Like, I was like, oh, maybe they're like ex-hand girls. Like,
But he wouldn't be working with the hand.
No, he wouldn't, and that's exactly what confused me. Although he was working with Crane Mother at the end of season 1.
Right? Okay, this whole time, this whole freaking season, I was wondering, where the hell is Madame Gao?
Well, she was killed at the end of Defenders, so...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But she was kind of represented here through these 3 girls who were performing the rituals. They're known as the Crane Sisters, although in the comics, they're the Crane Daughters, and they're her actual daughters. But
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was glad that they kind of like explained what was going on with those girls later, and that Davos was the one who knew how to perform the rite, and he just kind of instructed them. They were just, you know, glorified tattoo artists with some cool needles.
Yeah.
In episode 5, that's when Davos goes to the club and uses his Iron Fist. That was pretty cool to see him light it up red. He was such a badass in that scene. And at the end of this one, there was like the big reveal where Joy was like, I did everything to you. I did all of this. I admit to everything. Which I thought was like a pretty big moment.
It was pretty crazy. I expected that to happen much later in the season.
Yeah, like towards the very end, and all of a sudden it's happening midway through the season, and you're not quite sure what's going to happen from here, from this point forward. It's a pretty good cliffhanger. In episode 6, Misty and Colleen take the fight to the Crane Sisters, and damn, that fight was awesome.
That was really cool.
When Colleen was taking on the sisters, like they were attacking her with the needles, and she was just like using everything around her. So cool. I thought that was probably my favorite fight scene of the entire season.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And at the end of this episode is when Danny and Mary confront Davos, and we see that he is able to light up both of his fists. You know, he's better at using the hand than Danny was.
Yeah, I was pretty pissed off at the end when he broke Danny's leg, because I was like, well, fuck, another 4 episodes of him just fucking healing.
Yeah, and he just got done healing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was pretty shit. In episode 7, we got a backstory on Typhoid Mary, which I thought was pretty interesting. How I think her personalities manifested as she was like a prisoner of war being held in Sokovia.
Yeah.
And at the very end of episode 7 is when Colleen decides to train Danny, which at first I was like, Colleen, you're making too big of a deal out of this. It's just training. Just fucking do it.
Right?
And then you saw her training technique where she was basically just kicking the shit out of him all the time.
Yeah, by the time they got to the cage, like a few episodes down the road, that's when I really understood what they were talking about. Like, you can't fight someone you love because it's going to change the relationship.
Definitely. Yeah, I could totally see how that happened and how their relationship kind of fizzled out by the end of this. Even though they still really love each other, they couldn't quite go back to what they were.
Right.
In episode 8, there was like that training montage at the beginning where Davos is training his group and Colleen is training Danny, and they're kind of giving like almost opposite advice. I thought that was a pretty cool like montage scene. At that point, though, I was wondering, Davos knows where Danny lives. Why doesn't he just go there and kick the shit out of him?
It's true.
Also, why don't more Iron Fist villains use guns? Because if they were going up in Harlem against Luke Cage villains where all they use is guns, these guys would be dead. Like, Davos would be gone. Because he doesn't have protection against bullets unless, he stops it with his fist. But how are you going to stop a spray,
Have we ever seen that? Did we see that in season 1? I can't remember.
In season 1, Harold Meacham shoots at Danny with a gun and Danny blocks the bullet with his fist. But it was just one bullet.
Okay.
I don't think you could, do a whole hail of bullets coming from multiple people, like how Luke Cage has to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So, but I guess you want to have a show if it was like that. I don't know.
I just want to see like in The Last Dragon when, like the main character like gets the glow and his hands start glowing, then like he gets shot at and he just catches a bullet in his teeth.
Yeah, or just catches the bullet. Yeah, that would be awesome. I really wanted Mr. Yin to just pull out a gun and shoot Davos right before Davos killed him. Like, Mr. Yin didn't need to die. That was like a really hardcore scene, and it was a great way to represent just how fucking off the rails Davos was.
That was the point where it was like, okay, he crossed a line. He's killing innocents now. Yeah. And he's justifying it to himself.
Yeah. And those kids are killing innocents too. They're killing each other.
Those kids. Fuck those kids.
They're so fucked up.
I just wanted to yell at them the entire season. Except for maybe BB, but all of them was just like, fucking get your life, go to school.
Yeah. Go to the community center where she works at.
Exactly.
At the end of that episode, Danny had the revelation where he's like, my purpose in life is the Iron Fist. I know nothing else, which I thought was pretty interesting. In episode 9, which is the second to last episode, that's where Joy almost died. I thought she did die. I was really glad to see that she didn't. We got the reference to the pirate queen of Pink High Bay, who in the comics was the first woman to hold the Iron Fist. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wasn't sure where they were going with that reference. But
yeah, it was kind of like a loose end that they left almost throughout the whole season. And then, it came back up here. And I'm glad they went back to it, because for the longest time I was like,
what was the point?
What about the comb and the brush?
Yeah, it almost felt like one of those like extraneous subplots that happen in some of the other Netflix shows.
Right.
But yeah, they did tie it up. That was good. When Typhoid Mary told Ward that she knew somebody that she's going to go get ordnance from, and I saw the van, I thought they were going to Frank Castle. I thought Punisher was going to make a cameo appearance in this season.
I knew it was Turk because they showed Turk before the van.
I wasn't really paying attention.
Oh. At
that point, I looked up, I saw the van, and I was like, oh shit, Frank Castle. But I was really glad to see, what's his name? I call him Turk Turkleton. Turk Barrett. Yeah, that's his name. But I always like to see him. He makes me laugh my ass off.
Would Frank Castle kill Typhoid Mary?
That's a good question. Not if she's shown as to be like a righteous mercenary and he doesn't know about her instability or things like that. Mm-hmm. She's more of an anti-hero as depicted in this series than a villain. She kind of starts off as a villain and then becomes more of an anti-hero.
Yeah, maybe.
I really wish Danny had the Iron Fist when fighting Davos's Steel Serpent. That fight that they had in the community center was pretty cool looking, but it would have been a whole lot cooler if they were fighting fist to fist.
And it's really like the final fight between them.
In episode 10, yeah.
In episode 10, when they do have the final fight, it's between Colleen and Davos.
Yeah, and those two are the ones that go fist to fist.
And I'm like, what the hell is this?
I feel like Danny was robbed of that moment.
My whole point of watching this season, or one of the reasons, was just to see that scene where their fists go at each other.
Yeah.
And we didn't get that. We were robbed of that moment. Why?
Yeah, I was really disappointed by that too. And at that point, it really felt like Colleen's show because Danny, his only job at that point was to subdue Typhoid Mary.
Yeah. Earlier in the season, when he first said, like, I want you to have the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck this show. I don't even want to finish it now because I knew that she was going to get it.
Well, Colleen denied it. at first. So I was like,
Yeah,
okay, good.
yeah.
And then she was like, I want it. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Then I was like, oh, the show's not going to give it to her. And then they did. And then all of a sudden she got to do the final fight.
I just thought Danny was really dumb. I don't know what he was thinking. Get the Iron Fist.
Well, I think he also recognized that he may have made the right decision when he saw her heirloom box and had the Iron Fist symbol was underneath it.
Yeah, but I mean, that was them writing that into the show.
Right, exactly.
So they didn't need to do that. It definitely felt like at the final battle, Typhoid Mary was Danny's villain and Davos was Colleen's.
Yes.
And Danny even needed help fighting Typhoid Mary.
Yeah, from Misty.
Right?
So weird.
Just make this the Daughters of the Dragon show, because you obviously don't need Danny.
Right? That's exactly how I felt. They need to do a Daughters of the Dragon show where they separate those two characters from Danny Rand, because I want to find out who he is without them, honestly.
Right. Just have Iron Fist season 3, again, like you said, be him globetrotting with Ward, and then have Daughters of the Dragon just be them in New York doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. What did you think of Colleen's ability to channel the fist into her sword? I thought that was pretty sweet, actually.
That was cool. I wasn't sure if she had that ability in the comics.
Well, no, because she never had the Iron Fist in the comics.
Right. That's why I asked earlier.
Danny has used her sword before in the comics and has channeled his chi into it before.
It makes you wonder if she's going to keep that power.
That's a good question.
I could totally see like a poster for a Daughters of the Dragon television series where it's like her glowing fist with Misty's robotic fist.
Now gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that would be so cool.
If they could sell it as like the two fist sisters, then...
Just call it Daughters of the Dragon.
Okay. Yeah.
But you're talking about thematically, I'm assuming.
Right. It's a shtick.
Yeah, I guess it's a good gimmick. We each have powerful fists to punch you with, kind of thing. Gotcha.
2 fists are better than 1.
Even though everybody has 2 fists, so that's a stupid statement. The Orson Randall reference kind of blew my mind at the very last scene of the show, because I thought that the body in the casket, again, as I mentioned, was Orson Randall.
Well, Orson Randall, is he Asian?
No, in the comics, Orson Randall, he's white. He is the son of a Zeppelin flyer who they accidentally encountered the city of Kunlun, and he was raised there, and he's actually the surrogate father to Danny's dad, Wendell. Oh. So he's, in a way, kind of Danny's grandpa. But in here, it almost seems like he's a criminal weapons or artifacts dealer kind of thing. But those are his guns that Danny pulls out from his sides.
Oh yeah, that's what they say. We want our master's guns back or whatever.
Yeah, in the comics, Orson was the Iron Fist back around like World War I, and those were the guns that he used. He would focus his chi into those guns and then shoot out like chi magic bullets.
Right.
And that's what Danny did here. And apparently he has the Iron Fist back. And he's a lot more adept at using it, because not only can he channel it into both fists, but he can channel it into weapons as well, just like Colleen did. So there's a huge gap of story that's going on here.
And as cool as it was, you always wonder, like, is it cheating?
It is.
Because...
It totally is.
I didn't really appreciate that. Like, where do you start season 3? If you start season 3 with him, like, having already met this Orson guy, then you're robbed of how he got his Iron Fist back and stuff like that.
Right.
You'd have to do it in flashback.
Right. I assume that season 3 will start prior to this last scene of season 2, and it's kind of going to lead up to that and then carry on forward.
Okay, well, then the whole last scene is just the writers just saying, please don't hate us, please don't hate us.
Probably pretty much, look, he has the Iron Fist back. Don't be angry.
Doesn't it make you want to watch season 3?
It does, honestly.
It does.
But it was kind of a horrible way to end season 2, I think.
Yeah.
It's just so ambiguous. But that brings us to the end of our review for Iron Fist season 2. As you can tell, for the most part, we liked it, but there are definitely some issues that it had, mainly in its dealings with the primary protagonist, or who was supposed to be the primary protagonist.
Yeah.
Not actually ending up being Danny Rand.
I didn't get the story that I wanted, but that doesn't mean it was a bad story.
No.
I definitely really liked the action. The action was phenomenal in this, which is the most important thing that I wanted.
Yeah. The villain was fantastic.
The villain was great. It was a very personal story. Both villains, Typhoid Mary and Davos,
I like the
were
pacing.
both great. Yeah, I give it 3.5 stars.
I give it 3.5 stars as well. Better than the first season, though not quite reaching the level of this year's Luke Cage season 2.
Yeah.
But still a great step in the right direction for the series, and again, can't wait to see what happens next. If you guys saw Iron Fist Season 2, go ahead and write into us and let us know what you thought of it, if you felt the same or if you thought it was just bad. You can reach us by going to dynamicduel.com and finding the links to our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you visit our website, dynamicduel.com, you can also get access to our merch store, in which we have a variety of merchandise like t-shirts and mugs with our no prize artwork that we do on there that you could buy.
Yeah, it's a lot of really cool stuff, so definitely check that out. And again, go to patreon.com/dynamicduel if you want access to all the bonus content that we have done thus far. That does it for this episode. Next week, we will be doing a duel matchup between the Daughters of the Dragon, Colleen and Misty,
versus the Daughters of the Demon, Talia and Nissa Al Ghul.
Yeah, two martial arts duos that we think will be a pretty cool, hard-hitting matchup.
Yeah, it's another team match, right? We've only done one of those before with Cloak and Dagger and the Wonder Twins. So the simulations take forever. Like it's double the amount of time or quadruple the amount of time to run the simulations, but it's worth it.
Yeah, because this one will definitely be a lot of fun. Look forward to that next week. And until then,
up and away,
true believers.